It was a quiet evening in Denver, Colorado, when I noticed my son, Ethan, moving around the house differently. At 20 years old, he was no longer a child, but in many ways, he still carried the silent battles of someone who had grown up too quickly. I was preparing dinner in the kitchen, humming softly to myself, when he walked past me, hesitated for a moment, and then quietly said, "Mom, can we talk later tonight?" The tone of his voice was different. It wasn't casual or light-hearted. It was heavy, filled with something that had been bottled up for too long. My heart skipped a beat, but I forced myself to smile gently. "Of course, honey," I said, brushing my hands on the apron. "My door is always open." That evening, after dinner, Ethan knocked softly at my bedroom door. When I let him in, he didn't sit in his usual playful way. Instead, he closed the door behind him, sat down on the edge of the bed, and looked at me with eyes that carried years of unspoken pain. "Mom," he whispered, "I need to tell you everything. Ethan's hidden struggles. For years, I thought I knew my son better than anyone. But in that moment, I realized there were parts of his world I had never seen. He told me about the loneliness he often felt at college in Boston, the pressure of living up to expectations, and the way he sometimes felt like he was wearing a mask just to keep others from worrying. "Every day I tell people I'm fine," he said, voice trembling, "but inside, I feel like I'm drowning." Tears welled up in my eyes as I listened. I reached for his hand, holding it tightly, letting him know he didn't need to be strong anymore. "You don't ever have to hide from me, Ethan," I whispered. "You are never alone in this world." He broke down, tears streaming down his face, and in that moment, I realized the strongest thing he had ever done was to finally let me in. A mother's promise. Over the following weeks, I made a promise to myself. I wouldn't just be the mom who cooked his meals and asked about his grades. I would be the mom who listened, truly listened, without judgment, without rushing him. I encouraged Ethan to join me on evening walks through the park. We talked about everything, the silly, the serious, the dreams, the fears. Slowly, I watched as his heavy heart grew lighter. And then something beautiful happened. The unexpected turn, a new chapter. One day, Ethan hesitantly introduced me to someone special. Her name was Sophia, a kind, gentle young woman he had met at the university library. She had warm hazel eyes and an infectious laugh that made Ethan glow in a way I hadn't seen in years. At first, Ethan was nervous about telling me. He said, "Mom, I don't want you to think she's replacing you in my life. You're everything to me, but she makes me happy in a way I didn't think was possible." I smiled and hugged him. "Ethan, love doesn't take away from love. It only multiplies. Romance in the air." As weeks turned into months, Sophia became a regular presence in our home. She often helped me in the kitchen, and we would laugh together while Ethan tried, and failed, to sneak cookies before dinner. The three of us built something precious, a bond rooted in trust, care, and warmth. Ethan and Sophia's relationship blossomed in a pure, beautiful way. They studied together, supported each other's dreams, and filled the house with youthful energy and hope. One evening, I watched from the porch as Ethan walked Sophia to her car. He leaned in, gently holding her hands, and though I couldn't hear their words, I could see the love written all over their faces. For the first time in a long while, I felt peace. My son, who had once been drowning in silence, was now learning how to swim in the waters of love and hope. The heartwarming ending. Months later, Ethan sat me down again in my room, much like that first evening. But this time, his eyes weren't heavy with sorrow, they were bright with joy. "Mom," he said, with a nervous smile, "Sophia and I, we're serious about our future. I wanted you to be the first to know." Tears filled my eyes, but these were tears of happiness. "Ethan, you have no idea how proud I am of you. Not just for finding love, but for finding the courage to open your heart again." That night, as I lay in bed, I thought back to the evening when Ethan first closed the door and told me everything. It was the moment that changed everything between us. He had let me in, and in doing so, he found the strength to let love in, too. Life doesn't give us perfect stories. It gives us messy, complicated, sometimes painful chapters. but it also gives us moments of healing, connection, and new beginnings. And as I drifted off to sleep, I whispered a prayer of gratitude, for my son, for the love he had found, and for the bond that no closed door could ever shut again.